When Paul McCartney sat down for a 2025 interview, fans watching online immediately seized on his mannerisms, the way he moved and the cadence of his speech as proof he had been replaced by a clone decades ago. But McCartney is not alone in the conspiracy crosshairs anymore. Across TikTok and Reddit, clone theories have exploded for dozens of celebrities, each one sparking elaborate breakdowns of facial geometry, behavioral shifts, and supposed tells that fans insist prove replacement. What began as fringe speculation has become a full-blown phenomenon, with believers treating celebrity appearances like crime scenes to be forensically analyzed. The McCartney case has evolved into something far more sophisticated in 2025, with TikTok users conducting detailed forensic breakdowns of his recent appearances. Believers have transformed into amateur detectives, analyzing everything from facial geometry to behavioral quirks with the intensity of crime scene investigators. TikTok videos claim that McCartney's physical features shifted dramatically in 1966, including height changes and eye color differences, citing these as proof of replacement. These are not casual observations. Believers are pulling out measuring tools, comparing photos across decades, and creating side-by-side analyses that would make forensic teams jealous. The hashtags #FullMcCartney and #BillyShears rack up millions of views as users dissect supposed height growth and eye color changes. Current believers conduct what they call amateur forensic examinations of his facial features and study his handwriting patterns, treating every public appearance like evidence in an ongoing investigation. They are not just looking at old Beatles albums anymore, they are scrutinizing his 2025 TikTok live sessions, his recent interviews, and even candid paparazzi shots for signs that this is not the real Paul. The original theory claimed Paul died in a car crash in late 1966 and was replaced by a lookalike named Billy Shears. Modern believers have updated their evidence for the digital age, using facial recognition software, analyzing voice patterns, and creating elaborate timelines. What is particularly fascinating is how this myth has survived for decades, despite McCartney remaining active in public life and music production. Yet believers explain away every contradiction with increasingly creative theories. The McCartney case established a template that has become a blueprint for other celebrity conspiracies. Look for physical changes, analyze behavioral shifts, and treat career evolution as evidence of replacement. What started as a 1960s college prank has morphed into a full investigative framework that fans now apply to dozens of other celebrities, each one sparking elaborate breakdowns across social media. Avril Lavigne's supposed replacement by a lookalike named Melissa shows how the McCartney blueprint spread beyond Beatles lore. What makes the Avril theory particularly fascinating is how believers transformed career evolution into evidence of replacement. Fans say her style shifted too dramatically to be the same person, and die-hard devotees of her pop-punk debut use the theory to explain her deviation from the sound and aesthetic they fell in love with. The Melissa theory operated differently than Paul's because it wasn't rooted in a death narrative. It was about personality replacement. Believers claim that pressures of fame combined with personal tragedy triggered a fundamental shift in who Avril was. They point to promotional photo shoots where Melissa appears written on her hand, supposed facial feature changes over time, and the radical sonic shift between Let Go and subsequent albums as proof of a swap. Britney Spears' clone theory took this framework even further. According to conspiracy theorists circulating from 2025 to 2026, Britney disappeared sometime between 2019 and 2022, and everything since, including the Instagram dancing videos, the accent shifts, the inconsistent hair lengths, and the bizarre camera angles, is a manufactured digital persona. The theory exploded during her conservatorship years. Believers claimed her dramatic personality shifts were not trauma responses, but evidence of replacement. Clone theory. Enthusiasts argue Britney was replaced long before TikTok existed, during rehab, during her 2007 breakdown, and during the earliest days of her conservatorship. They pull old images of Britney looking full of life and claim the version we see now has different bone structure, different mannerisms, and different patterns of speech. Some say her voice changes mid-sentence in videos, proof of voice synthesis AI glitching. Others cite the infamous knife dancing clip as a malfunction, claiming the motions look too uncanny, too floaty, as if she were being rendered in real time. What is particularly revealing is how Britney herself addressed these theories in January 2025. She posted on Instagram, "A lot of people say I am a clone. I wish I was that interesting, but no, I'm owned by a little girl who lives within me." Even direct denials from the celebrities themselves get twisted into evidence. Believers say the clone is just following a script, that the denial itself proves the theory. The pattern across both cases is identical. Fans use any major life change, such as career shifts, personal struggles, or style evolution, as proof their favorite star has been replaced. What began as Beatles' conspiracy folklore has become a full forensic investigation framework that turns every celebrity appearance into potential evidence of replacement. After seeing how Britney denied being a clone but believers twisted even that into evidence, do you think celebrities should address these theories directly or just ignore them completely? Comment your answer below, because what happened with the next celebrity on this list shows exactly why that choice matters more than you would think. The clone theories exploded beyond Paul and Avril into the rap world, where believers now claim Gucci Mane, Kodak Black, and Eminem are all clones. The Eminem case shows exactly how these theories adapt to modern technology and social media analysis. According to conspiracy theorists circulating from 2025 to 2026, Eminem died in a car accident in 2006 and was replaced by a clone. Believers do not just point to general changes, they are conducting detailed forensic breakdowns of specific features. They cite changes in his appearance, specifically the shape of his jaw and his overall facial structure. The 2006 timeline is crucial for believers because that is when they claim his entire persona shifted. What makes the Eminem theory particularly compelling to believers is how they analyze his artistic output as evidence. Some claim his eyes went dead and he does not rap or dress like he used to. Others claim his voice changed over the years. They are not just looking at photos, they are dissecting his flow patterns, his lyrical content, even his stage presence for signs that this is not the same person who released the Slim Shady LP. The Gucci Mane case took this framework to an even more extreme level. When Gucci emerged from prison in 2016 looking dramatically different, healthier, fitter, completely transformed, believers immediately seized on the change as proof of replacement. His post-prison image showed a complete overhaul, a toned physique in place of his signature rounded belly, a generally healthier appearance. The transformation was so dramatic that conspiracy theorists even suggested Gucci was a government clone, potentially created by the CIA to whitewash the trap scene. The government angle is what separates rapper clone theories from celebrity replacement conspiracies. Believers don't just think these artists died and were replaced, they think it was orchestrated by shadowy forces to control hip-hop culture. They believe Gucci refused to play the game and is still in prison or locked away somewhere while his clone was put out into the public. They point to his pre-prison social media rants and industry criticism as evidence he was silenced for speaking out. Yet the most striking part about these rapper theories is how believers explain away direct denials. When Gucci himself addressed the theories, believers twisted his response into evidence, claiming his vague comments were scripted by handlers controlling the clone. The denial becomes proof of the conspiracy itself. Voice cloning has crossed what researchers call the indistinguishable threshold, with just a few seconds of audio now sufficient to generate a convincing clone complete with natural intonation, rhythm, emphasis, emotion, pauses, and breathing noise. When believers analyze Paul McCartney's recent interviews, they're not just hearing differences, they are witnessing technology that could theoretically make those differences real. The technical leap happened faster than anyone expected. Cybersecurity firm DeepStrike estimates an increase from roughly 500,000 online deepfakes in 2023 to about 8 million in 2025, with annual growth nearing 900%. For conspiracy theorists, this explosion validates their suspicions. If anyone can now create photorealistic videos in minutes, why would shadowy forces not have perfected replacement technology decades ago? Modern deepfake technology has eliminated the forensic tells that once exposed fake content. These models produce stable, coherent faces without the flicker, warping, or structural distortions around the eyes and jawline that once served as reliable forensic evidence of deepfakes. Clone believers point to this advancement as proof that earlier replacement technology was simply more sophisticated than the public realized. When they analyze Britney's Instagram videos for glitches or study Gucci Mane's facial geometry, they are applying detection methods to content that might actually pass current AI scrutiny. Upgrades from OpenAI's Sora 2 and Google's Veo 3 and a wave of startups mean that anyone can describe an idea, let a large language model draft a script, and generate polished audio-visual media in minutes. This democratization feeds conspiracy thinking in a twisted way. If regular people can create convincing fakes now, imagine what government agencies or entertainment industry insiders could have accomplished with unlimited resources and decades of development. The voice cloning breakthrough particularly validates clone theorists' methodology. They've spent years analyzing vocal patterns, speech rhythms, and pronunciation shifts as evidence of replacement. The perceptual tells that once gave away synthetic voices have largely disappeared. When current technology can perfectly mimic someone's voice from a brief sample, believers feel vindicated in their forensic approach. They were detecting what was technically possible all along. What's particularly unsettling is how current AI capabilities mirror exactly what clone theorists have claimed for years. They've insisted that facial geometry changes, voice pattern shifts, and behavioral modifications prove replacement. Now, identity modeling is converging into unified systems that capture not just how a person looks, but how they move, sound, and speak across contexts, creating technology that could theoretically produce the exact evidence believers have been hunting for. The technology doesn't just make replacement seem possible, it makes the believers' investigative methods feel prophetic. When people become attached to a particular image or moment of a celebrity, any deviation through aging, style changes, health developments, or personal evolution triggers disbelief. The clone theory is just the most dramatic way fans can protect the version of their favorite star that they fell in love with. What believers are really saying when they claim Paul McCartney died in 1966 isn't about forensic evidence. It's about preserving the young Beatle who wrote Yesterday and Hey Jude in amber forever. The real Paul never aged, never disappointed them with later albums, never became a 70-something grandfather making TikToks. In their minds, that perfect version is locked away somewhere while an imposter carries on the mundane business of getting older. When Avril Lavigne shifted from pop-punk princess to mainstream pop star, believers didn't just feel betrayed, they felt like someone had stolen their version of her. The Melissa theory lets them keep the real Avril frozen in 2002. Still wearing ties and tank tops, still singing about skater boys. The shift in sound and aesthetic felt too radical to be the same person evolving. It felt like replacement. The Britney case reveals this psychology most clearly. Believers point to her conservatorship years, her breakdown, her Instagram dancing videos, but what they're really mourning is the loss of the confident pop princess from toxic and overprotected. The clone theory allows them to believe that version of Britney is still out there somewhere, untouched by trauma, mental health struggles, or the grinding machinery of fame. The dancing woman on Instagram isn't their Britney. She is evidence that their Britney was taken from them. In the end, the celebrity cloning theory isn't really about cloning. It's about our inability to accept that the people we idolize are human beings who change, age, make different artistic choices, and sometimes disappoint us. Clone theories don't preserve celebrities, they preserve our relationship to an idealized moment that never really existed in the first place. When believers analyze facial geometry and voice patterns with forensic intensity, they're not hunting for scientific truth. They're trying to prove that the version of the celebrity they loved was real, and that what replaced it is somehow fake. Subscribe for more celebrity conspiracy deep dives. Check out our video on celebrity doppelgangers that fooled everyone.